It happened a long time ago. Zeon says he's finally cornered the enemy. He tells you about the most powerful demon king, and then says that the other guy. Zeon says, take it, and reflecting the attacks. He reveals that he has decided to leave the name of the strongest behind after the battle with the hero. The chapter of the Gospel of Alta, part of the hero Loan, reports that, being equal in strength, he says that even the strongest heroes of all time can't handle this level, and it's boring. Zeon says that if reincarnation exists, then in the next era, the life of an ordinary person. Tyabife asks why they need boiling water here. The man admires the girl, calling her cute. The woman calls Zeon by name. The woman says his name is Zeon. Hans, Zeon's dad, says he helps him so much all the time, it's been 18 years. Zeon says that dad always exaggerates, and the man replies that it is true. He reveals that he has been reincarnated as a human. He explains that he lives the life of an ordinary farmer in some mountain village. He claims to be just a farmer and wonders how this reincarnation. Zeon reports that he has almost no problems except one and explains that he notices something. Zeon says it's a bear. The man tells Zeon to run. He calms the man down and says everything is okay. Zeon reports that his powers are still intact and that he's not even scratched. The girl says the steak is bear meat and wishes you bon appetit. Zeon's mom, Fiona, thanks her son. His dad says the food is delicious, and Fiona says that. The man laughs. The woman says he can definitely do it. Zeon says he can even bring dragon meat. He says it sounds like a joke, but he's serious. He explains that it's interesting how none of his stats have changed since his rebirth, adding that he's honestly surprised. Dad marvels at how strong he is, and then sees that Zeon says he thought he'd live a more useful life, but mom's food is. He says you two are worth each other, and informs me that, apparently, even after. Dad says he seems to be the strongest of them all, and the woman says. Matilis says he will cut down all evil. Matilis reports that, according to his information, the knight announces that he is ranked 7/8 among heroes. The helmeted warrior says the other man truly knows nothing. He explains that all the hero's achievements are listed in a ranking format, such as conquering a neighboring state, achieving a high position, or completing a quest. He explains that the hero and his associates are awarded certificates that grant them advantages. The knight reports that he has a double rank and is a professional in his field, so there is nothing to worry about. Zeon says he's reassured, of course, and asks if there aren't dozens of better people above him in the rankings. The man says it's the first time he's seen a hero up close. He says that by human standards, of course, he was a small knight, and at the same time he recalls the times when people like him could only be small knights. Dad says Matilis would have praised him for taking down the bear and thinks he could have made the rankings. Zeon explains that, apparently, the world has changed dramatically since he was reincarnated. People started sending regular knights to fight demons. He says that a knight proves himself a. Zeon says Dad is cool. Dad says he says that conversation is a wonderful thing, but first you need to eat. Zeon says that something strange is happening to him, and he reports that after the fertilizer, things have changed for the better. Zeon says that after 8 years, he finally got his harvest on his father's land. The guy says it's -10 points and asks what that thing is. He says that victory is still a long way off, especially over his father. He explains that different varieties of vegetables and fruits crossed together require improvement and calls it a crazy human creation. Then he explains that this breed. Zeon says he despises. He says it's worth living. Zeon says he's looking forward to the harvest one way or another and explains that growing vegetables has deep, personal meaning for him. It's then the claw shatters the wooden tablets. The teeth open wide, revealing sharp teeth. The claw makes a grinding sound. The dragon Delodos reports that this village has been taken over by the Demon King. He warns the people to listen carefully. Zeon asks who he is. He reports that he does not hear the plea. The parents ask what's going on and call for Zeon. Matilis orders the boy to duck and attacks the monster, plunging his sword into its chest. The monster says the attack is funny. The knight says it's very painful. Zeon's mom says it's Matilis. The demon says it's immediately obvious this is a poor area and comments on the level. The demon announces that the hero has come to the rescue, and that before he could even be. The demon says that the thunder of hell is coming and it will tear everything around. Ziona tells him to shut up and apologize for the vegetables, while simultaneously punching his opponent. Zion says, "You need to know whose field you're on." The guy asks what it is, and the text says it's a hero. Zion reveals that bravery points are awarded to praise achievement and recognize talent. The parents say it's a hero ranking, and Zion says it looks like it. The man says he can't believe his son is a hero. Zion has a bad feeling about this and doesn't understand. He says he only defeated one evil spirit the other day and adds that that's all. The man explains that even Matthias is no match for him. Zion says a new demon lord has appeared. He says he has nothing to do with this. Zion says that when he says he only wanted a quiet farm life, but it can't. Against the backdrop of mountains and rooftops, the man says everyone is praying for his success. Dad asks his son if he's really leaving. Mom asks him to take care of himself, dear. Zion says goodbye and he says he will try. The action takes place in. Zion is surprised at the price that it is so cheap here. Zion says that this is his first time. The girl asks how he knows the stalks are fresh and branched. He explains that it's. Zion says, "Ue." He says he doesn't understand why the fruit is so sour and thinks it could be used in cooking. The man says this is. At first, the man with the mohawk and the bald man are. Two men attack him with knives and shout, "Kill." He calmly repels the attacks, tearing the knives apart. One of the men looks tensely at Zion. The other is surprised and says, the guy asks to wait. He fights off two attackers. The guy says that the city is a little unsettled. He says, sounds of revelry can be heard outside. The guy says Zion is a hero. Zion is told that she thought he was just. The guy is surprised to find himself ranked 38th. Zion explains that he's only ranked 38th and asks. He says that the demons are becoming more and more numerous, and now even that. Zion asks, demons? The man explains that the only safe place is the kingdom, which is well guarded, and that outside of it demons do whatever they want. The young man explains. Zion says he'll definitely be the best and is a good judge of character. The guy is surprised and denies it. He explains that even though he said something cool, he's just an ordinary warrior who's already reached his peak, and that he'll never catch up with someone like Zion. Zion says that's just how he sees it. Zion says that there are indeed many swordsmen and mages. He explains that you need to strive for goodness and someday become the best, simply by moving forward and keeping your head up. The guy thanks him. He says you shouldn't strive for talent. The guy says that the three of them were very strong, and the man with the mohawk says that although they weren't demons, he explains that he settled here with the goal of. Zion says he's happy, and the guy says he did it. The guy with the short haircut says they barely escaped, and suggests they go to the next town until the situation calms down, explaining that he said the guy didn't seem like a normal person. The guy explains that most people wear their swords for aesthetic reasons and would have been killed long ago if anyone had come with one. The man shouts, asking who wants to die. Several men are amazed and say that this is the very same one. The demon says he doesn't happen to know where they can get some fresh blood nearby. The boys are screaming. The guy lets out a scream of horror. The demon says this one is also an The demon says this girl looks delicious. The man explains that it's not just about filling your belly, but also about savoring the taste. The girl makes a sound of surprise. The man stares. The boy asks if the girl is okay. The girl says the arrow missed her. The demon says he can't believe his parent dares to interrupt his meal. The girl says she's scared, and the guy says his name is Anan Deltar and he'll protect her. The demon says, you. Deltar takes a hit and makes a pained noise. The demon reports that the defender doesn't look well and expresses regret. The girl screams, turning to the boy who is screaming in pain. He groans in pain, and the demon with horns says that only those who are capable of fighting him can be called. The guy says he thought so too. The guy says it's not like that. He remembered what Zion had said, that being willing to protect people is what makes a hero. Deltar strikes his opponent. The demon bursts out laughing. The demon tells the guy that he was just lucky to land such a blow. The demon says that he can easily regenerate. The demon says that even after defeat, Zion appears, raising his hand. The demon says he can't. Deltos apologizes to Xeon and says he couldn't do anything. Xeon says that without the man, the girl would already be dead and asks if it was the man's doing. Xeon says Deltos is a man to be proud of. The demon says die several times. The boy asks Xeon to run. Xeon replies that this is no ordinary demon, but a vampire, an aristocrat of hundreds of lives. The demon says to rejoice that they will become part of his bloody festival. A character with sharp teeth says that weaklings were born to be food for the likes of him. The guy asks. The scene depicts several monsters. The name of the technique is announced, and the monster laughs and says he'll start a fight, threatening to kill him whether he's a demon or a human. Xeon explains that Xeon says this isn't the time or place. Xeon says he lost something. Xeon says he's the demon king. He says there's no need for thanks. Xeon says he'll wait. The Delodos dragon and the man reveal that he is a vampire aristocrat of hundreds of lives. The woman explains that they are both demons, which they hated, and in just 2 months they were destroyed. The woman reports that they were destroyed by the same person, and he did it completely alone. A man expresses disbelief and says, a man asks if it's safe to say he did it alone, and the woman says there's no point in talking. The woman reports that she has come to a conclusion and turns to Xeon, saying that, perhaps. Xeon reveals that he is a demon sent to spy on them. The woman explains that, whatever the case, he says that if they leave it to her, she will solve everything. The man says that the woman congratulates Xeon and that his hero rating has been updated. Xeon says it's because he killed someone. The woman offers to look at his rank. The text states that Milia Vermilion is the hero of Blazing Flames. He says he heard they offer a quest, and Xeon reports that he's almost out of money. He asks if the quest to find the cat is a quest for heroes, to which the girl explains that it's not just for heroes. Xeon says he can't afford to lose. The man says he doesn't understand what's going on, and the nurse says she heard him. Hero Masa says he wants to take an S rank. Xeon asks if something is wrong. The man says it's solid, admires him, and calls him. The man tells Xeon that this is a rank 5 quest, the most difficult and high level, and asks if he knows what he wanted to take on. The man says that now it is clear there is nothing there but mountains, and says that he is a village. The man says that Xeon says the boy says his hair is beautiful. The man screams that the boy is doomed, and Xeon says the man has a pretty good sheath. The man says it's a legendary battle axe. He says, okay, just. Xeon says that otherwise it would be rude of him, and he says, oops, and explains that he accidentally did. The woman says she hasn't been here in a while, and the guy says she's actually in 7th place. The girl says they're finally home. Milia Vermilion announces that she is ranked 7th in the hero rankings. A woman asks Xeon if he is on the side of the demons. Xeon says that if so, he will kill the person he is talking to. The girl He says that if there is no water, then there will. Xeon says it's the same. The girl is leaning. He says he stopped and asks the girl why. The girl asks if he's really human. The woman says that if he moves, she will kill him. The woman says that he didn't even resist, and the man says that Xeon says he still couldn't figure it out, and the girl says she'll have to stay. The man expresses surprise. The woman says there are only more of them and asks where everyone is. The man asks. The woman says, ha, and Xeon says that the engineering marvel is on the move. The man asks where their heroes are and where they are. The Eritrean goblin says it's a wonderful city and everyone will make excellent material. The man asks what's wrong with him, and a guy with a shaggy fringe and light eyes says he'd like to get better. Xeon says all he needs are materials, calling it. A character with an outstretched hand orders them to be brought to him. The man and he shout that no. The guy asks if he just needs to destroy them and says it works. The girl says she wants. The guy says it's their star and says he's honored to be recognized. The man laughs. The woman says she laughs, ha 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 ha. Xeon claims to be the maddest scientist and one of the 4. He strikes the cloaked man with his sword, who expresses surprise. The cloaked man retreats. The woman says she's not being arrogant, but asks if Xeon. He says he wants the girl to become his material and laughs. The girl looks at the huge monster. The man says that just thinking about it makes him feel better. Xeon tells him to shut up. The top right panel depicts a robot's eye, from which a beam erupts. In the top left panel, the robot The boy says he can't believe he missed. The man explains that he's a little sorry, but it's good that he has plenty of materials. The man says that Zeon says, "Ha," and delivers a powerful kick. The girl flies back from the blow. The character says that he will keep the interlocutor because he has too valuable material. The guy says that if he loses, all the people. The woman says she won't lose to Zeon. Zeon, astonished. Milia Vermilion says, "Don't you dare." Zeon says, "Let's come to an agreement." The girl screams that the sounds of traffic can be heard in the background of the city. A man speaks. Chapter 4 is. The girl says that Zeon said he would destroy him. The girl tells him to wait. He asks if he should just destroy it, and if so, he'll leave it to himself. Zeon says he thinks someone thinks they can defeat him, even though the hero behind that person has already given up. He says the indicators don't work, and the man calls him an idiot. The man expresses surprise. Zeon reports that there was an error. The man in glasses reports that there was an error. The guy reports that the readings have started to show errors, and this is his great creation. The woman asks if he knows who this person is. Zeon says, "Ha," and says that. The girl asks what's going on. The man says it's okay, no mistakes will stop him, and he'll simply crush her with his great creation. The woman and Zeon say they don't know how to defeat him. The woman says he's gotten even bigger. He says that they will erase him, and at the same time launches the maximum version of the death ray. Zeon raises his hand to stop the girl who is reported. He says he parried the blow with his bare hands. The man asks what happened and why he still. Zeon says that it wasn't just a mistake and is excellent, then states that he announces that he is using the. Zeon says it's time to finish and takes the stone in his hand. Then he delivers the fatal blow. The girl looks on in surprise. He catches falling rocks. The man screams in pain and asks. Zeon says it's a blow. The man screams what Zeon is doing as he deals him a powerful blow with a. He shouts, then throws a stone. He says the stone flew well. The woman says Zeon did it. The crowd announces they won and cheers. The woman says the girl saved the city, and the girl explains it wasn't her. The man says he's leaving, and Zeon says he's done his part. The girl yells at him to stay put and not leave, trying to stop Zeon, who leaves and waves goodbye. The girl screams that she told him to stand. He remains silent when the girl grabs him by the clothes. The woman grabs Zeon by the sleeve and says, Zeon looks at the large fried chicken sitting on the table in front of him. In the background, a man on fire laughs and the boy says he believed in his brother. The men on the right are smiling. Zeon says he knew the moment he saw his interlocutor that he was incredibly strong. The man reports that everyone is celebrating the victory over the Demon King's. The man says that he is now, together with Lydia and the police, a hero of their city, pats him on the back and laughs. Zeon says he seems to be from the guild, and the girl says he has a good memory. The girl congratulates him on defeating the Demon King's general and explains that this is his reward. A boy and a man ask why there are so many coins. The girl Zeon says that's enough, and the rest should be spent on rebuilding the city. The woman addresses Zeon, who turns and asks if something is. The woman says, okay. Zeon asks what she wanted. The girl tells Zeon to fight her again. In the main square, a man and a girl approach. A man with cropped bangs and a girl with ponytails explained that the girl was giving in during the day to let everyone know, but now she'll give it her all. A man with a mohawk and he says that he doesn't seem to understand people at all. Zeon says that we should come here then and that he'll teach us some manners. Then the girl states that she will not allow Zeon to go any further. Zeon notices the fiery illusion and comments. He says he won. The man announces that he won. He explains that he doesn't understand why the girl wanted to fight, and the woman kisses Zeon, who looks surprised and tense. The girl says that when he came to her aid, she was scared. The girl says that he saved her with his fist and pierced her heart. She confesses her love and wants him to become her husband. A little later, the man says, Zeon asks how long the girl plans to go with him, and she says, of course, since he hasn't. He says he's going to be her husband, and they need to decide what they'll do. The woman says he's defeated the general and will now be under close. Zeon says that every man should at least once visit there and try their royal vegetables. The man looks at Zeon in surprise. The girl says he seems like a country bumpkin at heart. He laughs. The girl, it is said to be the northernmost demon city and the Demon King's castle. The demon crowd proclaims that yes, demons will rule and praises the Demon King's 4 generals. Zeon says he's just unlucky, and the woman reassures him that as long as they're together, everything will be fine. The man says that he lost. The woman offers Xian a dessert and asks him to try it, saying it's a pancake very popular. He announces that the first volume of the against the backdrop of the royal castle. It's announced. He says that he is starting to like the royal. The woman says they haven't even sat down one. The girl says that she can't shake the feeling that he is hiding something, and besides that, she is worried about another thing. He won't even try to spy on her. The woman says he's not at all interested in the beauty washing next to him, and the girl tells Xian that he's a demon spy and asks why he decided to use the bathroom in her room. Xian explains that there's simply no other reason why he nodded. He says it doesn't matter. He didn't even notice the girl anyway, reading the newspaper. The guy says that although this article is about rising water prices, the girl says she will read it later. Xian says, look here, and then note. The girl tells him that a new out. The guy asks the girl if she really wants. The guy reports that only a month has passed since he became a hero. The woman says she's wondering if that's a bad thing. The man says, The girl says she's already made up her mind. Betuar Ella Trishlia informs Xian that for all his exploits, he receives the title 1. The woman says he can now wear it with pride. Xian remains silent. He says he wanted to visit the famous market. The girl calls Xian. The woman says he's funny and laughs. Xian yells. He says it's disrespectful, the princess is not an ordinary girl, and such treatment is unforgivable. The man and the girl are surprised that it's the commander of the knights. Xian tells the princess that she's with a weak hero. The princess is surprised. The man tells her he says he doesn't know what place the other person is in, but he's definitely not number one. The guy says that he will answer for his words. Then Xian shouts the holy sword spell, after which Xian expresses surprise. He says he never expected to encounter this sword in such a place, but unfortunately, even Xian tells him to hold on tight, and the girl asks Xian what he's doing. He tells her not to worry, everything. Xian says he knows what his interlocutor just did. The girl screams at Xian to stop before it gets worse, calling him a freak. The princess Xian says it's a sacred sword, 1,000 swords, and explains. The woman says it's Xian's most powerful technique. He explains it's not just an optical illusion, which is interesting, and the man asks if that means it's Xian says he can't believe this happened. The man explains it was a surprise attack and they didn't have time to prepare. He informs her that if he fails to win, the queen will die, and asks the knight to help him. The knight explains that he cannot allow the queen to die, and the woman says that's enough. The girl says that they both. The woman tells Yusha that he'll get what he deserves for attacking the newcomer, and he asks her to forgive him. The woman says she's now convinced he's truly worthy of the title. The woman tells Xian that this is proof. The girl says that this is a place where the best. The woman says she's not going to give up, and Xian says he's not going to give up either. He says thank you. Xian says he wants to grow vegetables. The girl replies that it's possible. The man points out that she's a princess, and Xian almost destroyed her castle. Xian says it went well, though, and he thought she enjoyed it. The woman says she didn't like it, and as a daughter-in-law, she wants to say something. The guy says that the princess gave him a plot of land, and he needs to take a look at it. The girl asks. The girl says she wants to know if he's sure they belong here, and he says it's wonderful here. The girl says that if Xian likes something, she likes it too. Xian remains silent. Then the girl and Xian look at the building. He explains that this place is in the city center, near the main square, and the building looks new. The girl is silent. He calls it his field and says that he will grow vegetables here. The girl asks what is with this field. Xian announces that everything is now ready, showing a sign that says. He says that the man with the sacred sword is definitely similar to the one he fought. Xian smiles. He says he doesn't know what to do and asks who she is. He says, damn, it can't be. Xian says it's a king melon and says it's worth 30,000 gold. The guy says that even for the royal capital, the price of 30,000 gold is already excessive and explains that it costs as much as 8 huge boxes. Xian says that this might be a normal price for the locals. The girl thanks him. He says he didn't even realize he bought it. Xian says it's good he at least checked to see if the melon was ripe. The girl is happy to see Xian and asks if he wants to swim or eat, and then clarifies if he wants her. Xeon says next time. The girl is surprised and excited. The woman says she's incredible. He says he's already looking forward to eating. The man yells at Xeon, asking what that was, and demands he open the door. The man asks. Xeon says that either the girl simply mixed up the rooms, or it doesn't matter. The girl says that in the book, everything was the other way around. The girl says the melon is delicious. He explains it's a great royal melon, and the girl is surprised. He asks what he'll do now. The woman says the title comes with the woman asks if this isn't just an addition to his name, and the man replies that it isn't. Xeon says that's good, and they can always take advantage of a tactical retreat and try again. The woman says that you have no right to surrender, no matter how powerful the enemy before you, and you must fight to the end. Xeon is surprised that even at the crust, the girl says that when she saw Xeon on the battlefield, he explains that this won't always be an opportunity. Xeon says that even though they knew they couldn't defeat him, they didn't give up. He says that he always stood firmly on the ground. Xeon says he fought until the very end, and then starts talking about himself. He says he wants to understand what it means to be human. The woman says that if Xeon wants, she'll help him, but a guy asks a girl if she's listening to him while she's washing. Xeon says he's sorry, as he's not capable of anything more. The girl asks how Xeon is doing with that guy, and he explains that if she's referring to the last one, he says that the other guy is strong, probably even stronger than him, and there's no doubt. The princess says that if he says that, then she hit the jackpot, and Xeon says that it is clear. The princess refuses and suggests the girl and Xeon express surprise. He announces that they are prioritizing the evacuation of citizens and orders the 6th and 8th squads to follow him. One of the soldiers warns that they must stop the enemy here, and another soldier tries to object to the captain, saying that two warriors shout aggressively as they attack. The man laughs and says the opponents are too weak, calling them trash. Demon King Astra's knight reports that he was told the strongest. The knight reports that this is the Demon King's first squad. Xeon says they need to quickly sort this out and return home, and he tells the commander why he's doing this. The man in the toothy mask reveals that this is the hero in 3rd place and calls him the commander of the knights. The man on the right says they're lucky, and the man on the left says they'll put an end to this. Xeon says he is the Demon King's sword, and he says, "Let's kill each other." The man makes a sound of pain. Xeon says that can't be and asks how this happened. He says that with one blow. The man asks if they know who the knights are. The man says he's strong. The man says he dispatched 2 greater demons in an instant. Xeon says he can't hold back any longer. He asks if everything is okay, and the man says that thanks to Xeon, everyone is safe. Then he notices that it is strange. Xeon says that although he says he can, then he turns to someone, calling him Sir, and asks to forgive. A warrior in horned armor grabs a sword with both hands and delivers a powerful blow, causing a powerful explosion. Xeon delivers a powerful sword strike that destroys the stone wall while quickly moving forward. He talks trash. A number of soldiers announce that they have no use for the human being, and then the woman asks Xeon. The girl says it's almost dark and wishes her goodnight. He asks what happened. The woman demands to know where the Demon King is hidden. Xeon says she's talking nonsense and says it's clear. He says what it means. You don't want to do it. Xeon says that even if the enemy is one of the generals, he's somehow so strong. Xeon then he says to die, attacking with a sword. The man shouts captain, he repels. Xeon says he completely understands the hero, but as long as he has the city and people to protect behind, he says you need to value your life, because you won't get another one. The knight asks why the Demon King is crying. The Demon King screams and asks why this is. Xeon says that he needs to understand what he's saying and asks him to wait, wondering why he's doing this. The guy asks if it's getting bigger. He yells, "Why is this happening to the Demon King?" Xeon explains that he's apologizing. The man yells, "Why aren't they coming for him?" He says that if he continues like this, he will destroy. Zeon says that he is a knight and a loyal servant who will be faithful. He says that anyone who calls themselves a knight is a fool. He asks if the monster has seen itself and declares that it is simply a monster. Zeon says he and his trusty sword will destroy everything for him, and that's what it means to be a knight. The man says they're very different and unlikely to understand each other. He says that knights are a shield and sword for ordinary people. Zeon says that he will not allow the bright name of the knights. The boy declares that the sacred sword has no barrier. Zeon strikes his opponent with his sword. He says it's not over yet. He moves to the side to defend. The man says this is the end. Zeon explains that at this rate, he'll wipe out the entire city. The stage depicts a large monster making sounds. Zeon reports that it's an immortal knight. He explains that the devil, as he thought, he says that this can't be. He reports that this sword. The man says, that's it. The girl says that the girl says that the fire of her maiden. Zeon speaks more carefully, hoping he's not mistaken, and then says he'll help. The girl explains that she can't even imagine such. A girl attacks a dark flame with a sword. A man repels the attack with a sword, directing the blow toward. The dark creature screams, and the dust. Zeon says he's cleansing the darkness and casting the 7 stars of divine light spell. The man reports seeing it. The girl says it's incredible. The man says they won, and it's all thanks to their heroes. The girl says that, as she thought, he laughs, and the girl says that perhaps he is right, because she herself is Milia Vermilion, the hero of the blazing flame. Zeon says that this demon said that the king. He says that emotions have gone to his head and asks for forgiveness. Zeon admits they're very strong. The man says the guy is skinny and scrawny, not looking strong at all. Zeon yells for them to wait and says he's not. The woman announces that it's her turn to attack, then plunges her sword into the ground, causing a powerful explosion that hits. Zeon says he's much stronger now than he was before. The guy says they can't lose that easily. The girl says it can't be that. He reports that he hasn't taken off his achievements for 1,000 years. Zeon says they need to tell everyone everything they know about the Demon King. The man explains that if 1,000 years have passed, then whoever Zeon is talking about, Zeon says that's not. The elf says it's him and addresses him as Lord. He says it's been a while and he didn't think the elf was still alive. The woman tells Zeon to run, explaining that he is facing one of the Demon King's 4 generals and that he cannot be defeated. Zeon explains that the generals still. He says that his interlocutor wasn't very strong before, but the man says that he's really a great guy. The woman says, why, and why you? Zeon reports what they're talking about. He says that if there is anything to say, he will listen and asks what is wrong with him, if he is glad to see him. The man shouts that he thought about that day every day and denies that it could be him. He asks what happened there. It is reported that long ago there was the most powerful demon king. The demon had indescribable power. Zeon says he can't believe he, the demon king, was defeated, and he reveals that this day was supposed to be his last day of life and the beginning of a new demon king. The woman says it seems to be finished. The man says Zeon is strong. Zeon asks if the woman will become his servant. The woman looks at Zeon silently. The text block states that after the crowd follows the man in the cloak, the man says that they have found someone whom every. Zeon, says he. The man says he. The man says he. The girl and he are surprised. The girl says that 1,000 years have passed. He says that the girl has also. Zeon says he doesn't know what the other person wants, but at the same time, he says he doesn't understand what the woman is feeling and doesn't recognize her. The elf. Zeon reveals that he's been waiting 1,000 years for his resurrection. The man asks if he's the Demon King. Zeon explains that the Demon King would have found him immediately. He says he's not the Demon King. The man screams that it's a lie and he'll never. Zeon says it's better without shouting. Zeon remains silent, watching. He says he's no longer the Demon King and no longer wants to be. He explains that he's now standing before the other man. Zeon says that if the interlocutor still wants to be with him, He says, "Kill me," and then promises that the man apologizes for not recognizing Zeon right away and asks if he'll regret what he said. He says it's impossible, and the woman says she will invest everything so they can start a new life, and explains that Zeon reveals the name of the demon sword, ruler of darkness. Then Zeon says, "Excellent," and prepares for action. He says that his millennium has definitely not been in vain, and now Zeon says it's a demon king's strike. He says he can't afford to lose and announces that he's going to show off his full power now. He then clenches his fist and smoke begins to come out of it. The next shot shows his feet as Zeon says he's still like that. He says he's never made a mistake and nothing has changed since then. The man says he would have done it before. Zeon says he's now absolutely certain it's them. Zeon addresses his interlocutor, calling him Lord. He says that he can't afford to die here and explains that if he dies, no one will be able to. The woman calls out to Zeon. Zeon stands silently. The girl says he's the strongest hero on Earth. He says he and the Knight Captain couldn't even scratch him. The girl says she was very surprised when he appeared. The girl asks if he was very strong, and Zeon says this. It's said that 10 days have passed, and the action takes place in the village of Nana. The woman says, "What's wrong with him, Zeon?" and asks what happened to him. Zeon is breathing heavily, leaning against the door, and says something happened to him. A man urgently asks to look at a woman and a man report rising in the hero. Zeon says this. The girl says he's now surpassed her in the hero rank. The girl explains that Zeon's power attracts attention and asks him to behave himself. Zeon says he's. The woman asks if she should open the door. He stands next to her at the closed doors. The woman explains that this is a meeting place for the best of heroes. Zeon says that heroes are the hope of all humanity. The woman says that justice and fairness are the difference between a hero and an ordinary person is actually an incredible power. Ruby Deek reveals that Diamondon is ranked 10th in the Magic Bullet hero rankings. Pero Darkness is ranked 9th in the Apostle of Darkness. Mr. Hoofter announces that the round table meeting is starting and reveals that he is ranked 1st in the hero ranking. Zeon says this. The man laughs and warns the newcomer to be careful. The woman reports that the chairs here make a surprising. The princess says she hopes everyone is in place. Zeon asks who it is. The girl asks if they wanted to start without her and says that he's at it again, mister. The man replies that no, absolutely not. The guy says he wanted to look cool in front of the new guy. The man laughs. The man and the girl are silent. The man is silent. The princess says that they have gathered today for a reason, and the man says there's something he needs to do before he can begin. The man coughs. The woman says that this too. The woman says congratulations on your first visit to the round table, and Zeon says it's one strike. The three men watch in silence. He says he didn't like it. Zeon is silent. The girl says he doesn't seem to be in the mood and isn't even surprised. The girl says he's the #1 protagonist and asks how. The woman says he's strong, and the man says he'd say very strong. Zeon asks what kind of person he is, and the woman asks if he's really interested. Mr. Hoofter reports that he's the holder of the title. The girl explains that there used to be an organization called the 9 Heavenly Demon Kings. She explains that the organization consisted of the best pillars of the demon realm. The top right text states that Mr. Hoofter single-handedly destroyed. Zeon says the title wasn't given to anyone for nothing. It belongs to the strongest. He says, hey. Zeon says there is no need to greet him. He says that it is immediately obvious that he will die soon. The woman says Alba likes to bully newcomers. Zeon, he says that he didn't hear what the other person said and asks what exactly. Zeon says he's a hero and asks if the man knows who he is. The man replies. The woman says the guy is tired of touching the newbies and says he's done for. A man with dark glasses and a girl in a nun costume. The guy with long hair says he'll be fine. Zeon says not to worry, everyone here is strong. The guy says that this is the 5th seat, Giant, Ruby, and she's no less powerful than Mr. The blindfolded guy says he wonders what they're thinking about. Zeon stares ahead silently. He says that it turns out there's a hero ranking system, which is much more interesting than he thought. The man says that now that they've met, they can get down to business. A man reports that the small country of Cresselia has fallen. The guy expresses surprise. The girl says they're not joking. The blindfolded man speaks with disbelief, and the girl says that they fought with the demons for a very long time, but even so, they could not resist. The man reports that one of the demon tribes has recently begun to act. The girl listens. The woman reports that their leader's name is Pashtetto, who is under the command of one of the demon king's generals. Zeon explains that Cresselia was a very beautiful country with rich nature and diversity. He says that they must confront them, and the girl reports that they were recently attacked, and now she is in a chair. The princess says that if everyone can... Zeon announces the name of the place, Cresselia. A man in a mask watches workers transporting stones on carts. Two men wearing masks and Egyptian-style clothing. The guy falls to the ground and makes a sound. A masked man. The man shouts, "Get up!" and asks if it was in vain that he was left alive. Zeon reports that there are pyramids in Egypt that were built for the pharaohs. The man explains that these pyramids served as tombs. The man says they are building the great Shingpashtet temple for the sake of the great me, and warns them not to make mistakes. The woman says Zabel has died, and it's a shame because she liked him. She explains that it's no big deal. Before the mission begins, Zeon informs that Cresselia is the man says that spirits and sacred trees exist here. The man explains that nothing remains of the former glory and says that now. Zeon announces that they're starting and are obligated to help them. He then explains that there are only 5 of them. He says that it seems they are not familiar with the word debt. A man, a girl, and a boy listen. Zeon says it's time for the Holy Scriptures, and apparently fate itself wants them to be the only ones to do it. The man, the girl, he says he can't believe this happened and says he has to do something now. At the border of Cresselia, mummies attack soldiers, who shout that they cannot be defeated and let out battle. Zeon tells them not. He says that it is holy water, and now is their chance, since the enemies are immobilized. One of the soldiers reports that a holy sister has been forgotten on the battlefield and that they need to. The woman says that she blessed their weapons, and now it will be easier for them. The knights say everyone should rise to protect their sister, and leave the rest to them. The girl explains that there's something that sets her apart from other saints. Not Zeon says he's fine and asks not to waste his power on him, then says he's not asking. The man responds with a question. The girl says she doesn't understand how they could dare to touch such innocent people, and the man asks for help. The woman reports that the problem is her excessive anger and tendency to resort to violence when angry. She tells her sister to repent to God and calls them stupid bastards. The woman screams for her enemies to die. The guys say it tickles and ask if this is human magic. The man says, "Oh my God," and explains that their magic is powerless. The man explains that real magic kills in an instant. Zeon says that fate has gifted him with a powerful opponent and hopes his interlocutor won't be upset. The man reveals that the character ranked 9th in the apostle. He says triple somersault and quadruple somersault, accompanied by a whoosh sound. The man with the mask asks who he is and what he's doing there. He laughs and says, "Huh." Zeon reports landing, and the man says it's He tells the dog that maybe it's time. The 9th place in the ranking of heroes. The child explains that he was born and raised in a loving family. He explains it all started with some strange conversations. Zeon says there was no sign of trouble. The woman reports that until now, an incident has not. The woman tells him he was scratched by a cat. Zeon explains that the scar now adorns his left eye. He reports that after this, he decided to become a hero and actually became one, while simultaneously using dark magic to explode against the enemy. Zeon says the man talks too much for a weakling. The man says he's good. The girl calls Zeon and asks him to help her. He says sorry and laughs, and the girl says that it's not necessary. The girl explains that she was promoted in the hero rankings for a reason and that she won't interfere. A man says he's strong. The man says it seems like everyone is trying their best. The text says that this is the #1 hero. The world from right to right, a man announces that Zeon thanks them. The soldiers report that thanks to him, they have a chance of victory. He says that his physical stats are much higher than those of other heroes, calling it incredible. He then reveals that he doesn't. Zeon asks if he's really human. The girl says they didn't come here for a vacation and asks if Zeon is kidding. The girl explains that Zeon is just standing there doing nothing. Zeon laughs and says no. Death Chief, Myra Anubis says then, let's play, and he says you are heroes too and confirms yes. Zeon says he's definitely not human. He agrees they won't be able to rest here, but suggests she see for herself. The man screams. He says that, especially for this. Zeon says it's not often you see pyramids. The girl pronounces the A sound. He says that up close, she is even bigger. The girl reports this. Zeon says that he will go and see what is there, turning to his daughter-in-law. He says it's a pyramid. He says that's all, just emptiness and a staircase in the center. The girl says they'll be up there by then, and Zeon agrees, saying there might be something there. Then Pashtetto says they've gone. The woman warns Zeon to be careful, as they've already met the general. The girl tells Zeon to die. Zeon says he understands. He says his ability is to control people with a curse. The woman explains that, in addition to her incredible beauty, she is also the best demon mage who can cast a curse in an instant. And even if a person is a hero, Zeon says a person can be either an incredible warrior or a saint. The girl explains that everyone, without exception, the woman says she is only helping a little and asks him to forgive her. The girl asks what to do now. Zeon says that he says that he will kill and orders to die. Then he starts to attack, and the man reacts in surprise. Zeon says she has incredible ability. The girl says that she loves her, and the girl asks what she did. Zeon says it's nothing special, she always acts like this, and the guy asks, so? The girl explains that she doesn't understand what's going on. He reports that the vaunted curse has passed, and calls his interlocutor a fine fellow. The woman says Zeon won't regret it and asks, the woman asks if he's really human. The girl explains that even demons don't consider Zeon human and asks what to do with him. He says he's even. The woman says he's very strong, which means he's hurt. The woman says that if Zeon really kills, he says that he will simply kill the woman says to die. Zeon says it's a death curse. The woman warns him to be careful. The woman laughs and says there's no way to dodge it. The woman explains that since ancient times, a curse has befallen those who disturb the sleep of sleeping kings. The girl screams cough. The man explains that whatever the black ball touches immediately disappears. He says it's not a normal curse, it simply wants to destroy everything, and if you get hit directly, the girl warns Zeon to be careful, as if he gets hit by the ball, he'll die instantly. Zeon laughs and asks how much longer they plan to keep jumping. The man with the staff says the woman tells them they can't do anything with their weak bodies and orders them to die. Zeon says, clap. Zeon claps his hands. A woman screams, asking to be let go because everyone will see, and tries to fight her off with her foot. A man in armor shouts, holy! The woman says enough. A woman screams as weapons fall out of her skirt. Soldiers react to the scene. The girl says, ah, Zeon shouts, what the hell and how dare she? He reports the use of dark magic death blows. The girl reacts to this, but the man asks if the girl is okay. Zeon reports that there's probably a new guy. A man and a woman notice something. Xian says he hears a noise outside and asks what it is. The woman reports that about 400 years ago, the woman reports that they were able to defeat him, but even after many years, no one could come close to his strength. The woman says he's dead and asks, "So what?" The man watches silently, thoughtfully. The man says there's no point in telling them everything. The woman laughs. Xian says she is also called. The woman says he swore to be her servant, that she's a great potato, and has a servant who is no less powerful than the former demon lord, that this one and only. The girl tells Xian that they can't just stand there and need to help their own. Xian says he thinks it's too early for them to go that way. Xian and the girl notice an enemy appear who says they're not finished with them yet. He says it's incredible that a cat turned into a snake. The snake says that it has received the power and knowledge of the former king. Now it cannot be defeated, and it is the embodiment of the curse itself. The girl says that whoever he is, he says that the two strongest will defeat the demons together. The man warns her to be careful, as he senses an unprecedented strength in the enemy. The man asks who it is. The girl says there's nothing to be afraid of because it's just a big piece of shit. He says this is the king she was telling you about and that they need to finish this quickly. The monster says that thanks to him, the creature now possesses the same power as in its. Xian announces that he and his servant will destroy this world and begins with the heroes who dared to attack him. On stage, he announces the name of the curse, True Death. Xian says it's the same. The next panel shows the moment when jets of liquid or steam. The girl says she doesn't understand what just happened. She tells Xian that it's his hand. Xian says, "Ha." The girl asks what's wrong with Xian's hand, and he tells her not to worry, that everything is fine. The girl notices that last time there wasn't even a scratch on Xian's hand and is surprised that he's lying. He says it's time to begin. Xian says that he likes he says to remember it. Xian says that fifth place is like the place. The snake says the man is not weak and that she will remember him and then continue the battle. Xian explains that it'll be nothing more than a child beat. The woman and the girl report that they seem to have understood everything. The snake is surprised. The man tells the boys to step aside. Xian says he's surprised too, because humans are much stronger than he thinks. He says he hasn't yet fully understood what it's like to be human, but time will tell, and asks if he's right. He says to come here and offers to finish their business. The snake expresses surprise. The man asks what's wrong with them, and he also expresses surprise in response. Xian says it's best to end things with the arrogant humans right now. Titan says that his blow was able to shake the demon world and is a great curse, and then suggests to see how long the opponents can last. Xian reports the Titan's iron hammer. Xian speaks of the death curse. Xian explains that he is ready for battle. The man announces the name of his strike, the strike of justice, and delivers a powerful punch from top to bottom. Xian reports that it is a normal attack. The snake says, "Call." The woman speaks to Xian. The snake is silent. Xian says he's glad the girl is okay and tells her she was strong and he almost fell in love. He says that he is still far from the Demon King and then jokes. Xian says that if they had met 1,000 years earlier, everything would have been different, and the creature asks what he wants to say. The woman tells Xian that he almost fell in love with her and explains that she means what he just said. He asks what she means. The woman asks what just happened and calls Xian. Xian says she was loyal to her cause until the very end, despite all the difficulties. The girl says she really likes him too. The girl says the same in response. The girl rejoices and shouts hooray. Xian says he's always dreamed of having a subordinate like her and notes that the man reports that he's already defeated 3 of the Demon King's generals, calling it magnificent and adding that he's even more intrigued. The man turns to Xian, who remains silent. The man asks if Xian will always be on their side, and Xian replies, of course. Then the Demon King's land is shown, with a crow screaming and a dragon expressing surprise. The bird reports that the pate has fallen, and the demon says that. Xian says it can't be. They've lost another general, and scolds the humans for their insolence. The man reports that she fell and asks what's going on. The creature screams that this is nonsense. He says that he was right about that man after. The woman says everything is clear with him. Xian says he wouldn't let her go alone, calling her his beloved kitty. Xian says if the guy says this undermines the authority of all demons. The demon says they are obliged to take revenge on them. An off-camera voice tells the demon not to grieve. The monster says that they can't take it anymore. It's reported to be Trishulia Castle. A number of soldiers announce that a hero. Xian says the abomination is trying to curry favor with the newcomer. The woman says he shouldn't have been summoned for such a trivial matter. He reveals that he ranks 3rd in the hero ranking. The girl says she's looking forward to the day. He says he doesn't need anything and it's better not to invite him here again. The girl grabs Xian by the shoulder and says that they should talk a little first. Xian says he's completely satisfied with his current living arrangements and adds that he doesn't need it. The girl asks for at least a small reward and asks if he's interested in money. He says he came up with something. The girl asks if it's all theirs, and the man says Xian says this house. The girl says thank you to Xian, and he gives her a thumbs up and says hooray. The girl announces that today she will be drinking wine that she made herself. She explains that it is made from grapes grown in the garden and that it turned out very tasty. The woman says it's nighttime and starts doing something. The girl tells him to be careful and watch his step. He says he's covered in sticky liquid and needs to wash up at home. The girl says that Xian should wait because she is not ready yet. Then she exclaims. The woman announces that it's time to get down to business and says to strike while the iron is hot. She then says so and presses the switch. The girl says goodnight to Xian and tells him she wants to show him something. Xian responds with bewilderment. A woman screams. A man says, huh? The woman says, burn. The woman says she wanted to ask and asks if the guy is forgetting anything in such an outfit. The girl says there's no need to say anything. He says he also needs to eat before the food gets cold and tells her that she was recently in the castle. The guy says he wanted to invite Mr. Number 1, but he declined, saying he was busy. The man apologizes and says, the woman says, The guy asks why he wasn't invited, and Xian explains that he just. The woman says she wanted to. The woman explains that she then heard. The woman explains that the girl is a little different in everyday life. The woman says she's just drunk and that she's going crazy, then suggests she forget about it and remember how Mr. and Xian fought. The girl says it was the first time she saw Mr. fight. He says he showed himself to be a true hero, and that's not up for discussion. The girl says that Pate was definitely not weak, and even without seeing him, she sensed his power and majesty. Xian reports that the woman says she shares the same opinion. The girl tells him that he will soon become the strongest. The woman reports that a fallen angel descended from heaven and immediately understood everything. The man asks why the girl spoke about it so abruptly. The girl says this is a good opportunity to talk, and asks if that's what Xian thinks. Xian yells back that he doesn't believe it. The man says that if that's. She sobers up, thanks him for his time, and says goodbye, and he says that their destinies are intertwined and hopes that they can sit like this for a while longer. Xian advises that one should be careful in the dark. The girl says it was fun and explains that the food he cooked was divine. He reports Xian says that before they were just his sister and a strange guy to him, but The girl says that in fact she has realized a lot, and deep down she believes that she can be. Zeon says it's all thanks to incredible people like him and Mr. He tells her to speak carefully, otherwise the woman says that even if Zeon is a demon, the girl says the strongest is Mr., but he hasn't met the second-placed man yet. He says yes, she wasn't at the last meeting. The woman reveals that it's Dakinjia, the great sage Parmala. The girl says that the woman tells that the great sage Parmela of Brunei. Zeon reports that the demon king sits at the top of the world and is perhaps even the strongest of. The woman says he is so strong. Zeon says Danu is called a legendary hero because he's the only one who's ever reached the demon king, and no one else has. The man replies that he doesn't know why and says Zeon talks too much about the demon king. He explains that even if he is a demon king, he is still only a great supreme ruler of his time, and the history of demon kings includes tens of thousands of years of long history, and now he is just a grain of sand. He explains that in their vast. Zeon says that perhaps if he had met such good people as his interlocutor in his time. The woman says she doesn't understand what he's talking about. Zeon says that heroes must never stop believing in their victory and go to the end, as the girl joined him. The woman says the guy is too. The guy reports that the demon kings have gathered in one place. The man explains that they are the four devil kings and says that it's impossible that they forgot something here. The guy says that in ancient times the world was completely different and humanity destroyed those who were at the top of their world. Zeon reports that it's the Devil King. He then explains that it's King Yu. The woman says they were waiting for Zeon, the true demon king. He asks when this false king gained the courage to come. Zeon reports that they are the true kings. Birds are heard chirping on the roof. The girl announces that it's time to. The girl reports that she woke up earlier than she planned. The girl explains that this hero is a former demon. A girl chooses clothes from a closet and says that today she will wear a dress. The girl gathers her hair into a ponytail while holding a rubber band in her mouth. Today, Zeon reports that beautiful blue sky. The girl says she's just waiting for her loved one, but her heart is already beating so fast. She says she wonders when he'll come. The girl is talking about Milia. The woman says Zeon is early. The woman calls Zeon. He apologizes and asks how long the girl waited. The girl announces that she's going on her first date today, and it has to be perfect. Zeon looks at her silently. The man says that we need to split into pairs. The man announces that it's time to grab a shovel and head to the garden beds. A group of people listen to him. Zeon says it's a potato digging competition. The girl asks what it is. Zeon explains that the competition requires pairs, so it was a good time to invite her. The woman says she understands and thanks him. He says he's handing the woman a shovel and asks her to take it. The woman says there's nothing special about. The guy announces he's bringing a girl here, and the girl laughs and says to watch. A woman reports that sweet potato digging standards in the capital have declined. The man reports that the humidity. Zeon warns the girl to be careful, as the opponents aren't as simple as they seem, and asks if she'll explain. Two men with high forelocks announce that the 103rd potato digging competition is beginning. Zeon says he can't afford to lose and shows determination. A man with glasses and a shovel explains that they must work together to succeed. He says he can't lose because he has a dream. The man says he's not going to give up either. The man announces that this is the 103rd potato digging competition, and he is now ready to announce the winner. The guy says that in first place is Ishtar from the village XXX and the sweet Milia. He confirms this with enthusiasm. The girl is surprised and says, "What?" The man announces that Zeon and Miria will receive the winner's trophy and the golden seed sweet potato. As the woman says it's okay, that it took her day off, and says there's still some land left. The girl says it was a brutal battle and she could never have done it alone. The matches used for the jacket potatoes have become wet due to an accident. Men and women report that the chances of recovery are zero and express concern about what will happen to them. A woman asks if this kind of fire is suitable. The woman says she's been diligently preparing for today's date and is surprised how this happened. Zeon asks if it's a date and doesn't understand. The woman quickly denies it and explains she didn't mean to say it that way. The girl says that it is just a date, and he explains that when you meet the person you like, you have fun. The guy says he's having delicious food and announces. Xeon reports that their first date was a complete success. The man and woman panic and scream that the goddess has collapsed and ask for a doctor, remarking how wonderful it would be if every day were like this. The woman says he's late. The woman explains that she's supposedly in the house of a magical family, but she doesn't understand why they can't even serve tea properly. The man says he's already here. No information. No information. The woman suggests holding a reward. Xeon says that if there's nothing else to do, then that's what they're doing. The girl explains that she can't stand such an impenetrable man. She adds that if they both leave, the girl asks which ones exactly. He says it's obvious, and the text explains that it's about the Brunelag Empire. The woman announces that she will crush all the players individually. The man explains that the hero in second place is the great sage Parmala. Xeon says he was excited when he heard the strongest hero was something. Then he says it was a big disappointment. He says that if he is a warrior, he must accept death with honor. He reports that the woman says he should apologize, as she's known for her stubbornness. She warns that the voice announces that the sword is called the Heavenly Sword, then explains that it is a divine sword. The man explains that the swords of many worlds will unite. Xeon reports that this is Nagaraju's special technique, the May Rain Meteor Slash. The knight says he is disappointed. He says he is the character states that he cannot die because his body is. The girl says that Xeon's parents are coming to visit. She expresses surprise. Xeon mentions that they recently wanted to see the capital's sights. He says they want to see how he handles being a hero. Xeon says he's told them many times he can't handle it, and that he doesn't plan to show them anything. A guy asks a girl if she really thinks that, and she says she doesn't know what he thinks of himself. He explains that he's already made a great hero. The man says he'll serve as proof. The guy apologizes. The guy says he's Xeon, and the girl says he's the third most powerful hero. The woman offers to shake hands. The boy, Xeon says he's not particularly impressed. The girl asks why he thinks that. The guy with short blonde hair asks. He says that this is the first time he's been told something like this. The girl asks. Xeon says that many admire heroes with powers like his. He says that admiration is not enough for him. The man explains this. The woman reports that their power inspires awe and immense respect. He says that none of them will be able to take the place of the demon lord. The woman says they now need to prepare for the arrival of Xeon. The girl says that as a woman tells Xeon and Milia that there's trouble. The woman explains that they haven't. The woman says it's impossible for there to be anything in the armor. Xeon reports that they've been informed that he says that if Brunalk has fallen, they can't waste a second. Xeon says there's no need to prepare for battle. The girl asks. He says they already have something to do. The crowd reports a voice coming out of nowhere. Several people ask what it is, looking at the huge flying object in the sky. Eritrea Goblin announces that he is showing off his precious invention and says that it is excellent. Xeon reveals that they have a one-of-a-kind, high-performance magical device on board called. The woman says the world is unimportant and suggests they quickly destroy it and move on to the next. The girl asks Xeon if it's really Eritrea's. He says it's a portal to another dimension. The man explains that it can. Xeon, the girl, and the man shield their face. The demoness says that she doesn't care, and the demon king warns. The woman says they have a deadly. He says that these two are equal in strength to the demon. The woman says there are not two of them, but four. The girl says he's the demon king and calls them thugs. Xeon says at least someone here has a brain. The man explains that, unfortunately, there aren't two of them. The text states that this is a state neighboring Brunelag. A man and a girl talk about a dragon making. Xeon says, What the hell is this? A man and a boy. The demon dragon king Ryugadosil says the creature seems special. The demon void queen Hyosetsu. The girl says that they will go to the next world. Zeon says that no one but the true. He says he hopes his interlocutor can quench. The demoness says that if that's what she's being asked to do, she doesn't want to work with him. Then the demoness casts the dark inferno spell. The man and Zeon prepare for battle. The girl says she'll destroy the enemy. He says it's a killer move and a blow. The woman explains that she understands Zeon's concern for them and asks if they are heroes and if he has forgotten that. The woman says it's a pity. The girl reports there's no reaction. The woman explains that neither magic nor simple attacks work on her. Milia announces that she's delivering a strike that pierces matter and uses a special super move. Zeon says he won't give her. He says that even if he dies, Zeon says he feels sorry for the girl and asks if he says he is his past self. Zeon says he's always dreamed of meeting guys like them. The girl says she doesn't know where he came from. He says it's wonderful. The man asks if he'll really go that far. The man says it's very interesting. He explains that it's worth traveling the worlds for that. Zeon says he's always happy to fight. The knight asks if he wants to surrender and expresses confusion about what it is. He explains that it's nothing special, Zeon says he understands the Demon King. He says it's boring and adds that it's sheer boredom. Zeon says he wants to fight someone at his full strength. He states that a punch from the Demon King will not harm him. The armored man exclaims and asks what that was. Zeon says he'll give you first-class service, and at the same time, he unleashes a series of punches called the Demon King Punch Series. He says that he wanted to fight to the point of exhaustion, and said the image does not contain speech bubbles or text for retelling. The girl is shown. A woman with a child reports that her village was once attacked by members of a magical family. Horror and piercing screams echoed through. The upper right panel reveals a heroine in a flowing cloak, standing with her back to the viewer, holding a sword, while people hide in the doorway. In the lower left panel, the woman reports that she was even surprised for a second. The girl is lying on the ground with a knife in her side, clutching the wound. The woman says she struggled and struggled, but it was all in vain, and that she barely touched a couple of people, and they could no longer move. The woman says that even people are too powerless. The woman says okay, she'll smear the man against the wall. The demoness says she finds it more interesting this way, because she's just thinking that the woman reports that she almost immediately overtook the one she admired so much. Zeon says it doesn't really matter. The girl explains that she was burned by the flames and asks what he's even talking about. The girl says she's a hero, and the guy's about to lose to her, explaining that the woman says these are not her eyes. The woman says that she absorbs all magical and physical damage and makes the enemy's power her own. The demon explains that he has found a loved one, and that a human will never defeat the Demon Queen. The girl says she has a lot to talk about with him. Then she explains that she could have a future like her dream. The man and the girl announce that they have a future. The woman screams that she doesn't need this and begins to speak. Then she summons the wondrous flames of Milia Vermilion. The woman prepares to attack. Zeon says that this world belongs not only to him, but to all people, and he will protect it, and then says that he dreamed and saw in his dreams the one he praised. The woman says it's the blinding radiance of divine fiery spheres. The man says a woman screams as a human female consumes her body, belching flames. The man at the bottom right says the word flame. The woman screams and radiates energy. Zeon says that the last time he was this exhausted was when his opponent was a demon lord, and asks if the girl really has the power to hurt. The woman reports that her body is already falling apart. The woman says she'll still win and will now return all her magical power to her opponent. The girl explains that that move cost her dearly and laughs. The demoness informs her that, ultimately, the girl is just a helpless human female and that she cannot defeat. The woman shouts the 7 stars of divine light spell. He says it's a magic bullet, a demon killer. The demon asks where it came from. The man smiles. The demon gets hit in the stomach. Zeon says the enemy won't have time to absorb the power. The demoness screams that the humans are mocking her and calls them insignificant, declaring that they will never defeat her in their lifetime. He reacts to her. Zeon tells her that the girl is powerful because she's a demon queen, and she yells at him. The girl says they're heroes after all. The knight strikes with his sword. Zeon parries the attack with his fist. He punches an armored opponent, who attempts to parry the attack. He then assumes a fighting stance, while the armored opponent prepares for the next move. Zeon says that the guy is amazing, and he has never met such an almost equal opponent in strength in any world, and also says that with an ordinary human body, he reports that the enemy does not. The knight says that battle brings him joy. Zeon says he doesn't want to deal with his passions and laughs, asking him not to say that. Zeon asks if the knight senses his emotions. He says that he sees what lives inside the interlocutor and sees a character that asks him to break. Zeon says that he sees a power too great. He says it's very important, especially for ordinary strongmen. The man says there's nothing wrong with trying your best. Zeon says he wants to know what they're trying to say. He says to try harder, explaining what exactly he is trying to say. He expresses surprise. Zeon says he can't understand why, since he's so powerful, he doesn't go all out. He says there is no opponent he can go all out against. He says he will. Zeon says that the sword is inside the enemy and he says he's not done yet and asks if the opponent can block it. The opponent strikes. Zeon says his demon sword cuts down King. He says it is a holy sword that beheads everyone. Zeon talks about the final blow, then he reacts to what is happening by saying, "Oh." He says it's the sword of the gods, completing a series of blows. Zeon says that's all, and asks if his power isn't greater than the other four demons. He says he's definitely human. He asks why the other one can still move. Zeon says it's a disaster, and there's hardly anything that can be. He says he decided to show that this is all his strength. The man asks if he's not taking their fight seriously. The robot announces that he's going to change his plan slightly. Zeon says wait and asks what he's doing. He says, "Don't worry." The knight reports that the people from these houses have already fled, but they won't be able to escape the next one. Zeon notices that the knight is aiming not at him but at the city and says this with displeasure. He says that, although he doesn't usually do this, he will do everything to see the other person fight at full strength, then says so. Zeon reports that it wasn't just a collapse, but an explosion, and explains that the explosion was caused by someone setting off dynamite. He says that the people are very important to the hero. The guy says that these two. The man explains that Zeon says it's stupid and asks why he exposed himself to the attack. He asks if the boys are okay. The boy and girl report that Mr. He. The guy apologizes and says it's their fault. Zeon tells them not to worry. He says it's just a mortal wound, then says it's not interesting. The robot says he can't establish rules for fighting such a moron. Zeon says that he can do it that way. Zeon says that humans are very difficult to understand, far from perfect. He explains that they think rationally but are true to their passions, and that there are also those who are incorrigibly stupid. He says that these creatures are just like that, and he can't understand why it's easier to just leave them to die. He then explains that he can't do that. Zeon says he's a hero. Two children look at him with hope and tears. The boy and girl are crying and calling for Zeon to. The armored character says it's terrifying, and that's what Zeon is like. He says that he actually feels sorry for his interlocutor, and explains that he would have been chosen as the strongman after all. He explains that his interlocutor's strength. Zeon says the wound he inflicted is fatal. He says that one must always try to protect oneself because wounds don't heal immediately, because he is human. He explains that this difference between him and the person he is talking to can never be overcome. The man reports that despite this, as a sign of respect for the strength of the interlocutor, the guy says he's about to show what he's like when he's serious. Nagarazia talks about true liberation. The knight says he'll show Zeon the limits of his body and calls him a weakling. He says he's always wondered why fragile people stand up to demon kings like them, and why he sensed there was something dazzling about such weaklings. He reveals that now he has that something too. Zeon tells him to wait, then asks who he is and tells him that he is Zeon Ishtar. He says he is a man. The knight expresses surprise. Zeon says he's seen such warlike fervor for the first. He says that victory is his. He says that the demon king is a perfect being. Zeon says he has no enemies, so there's no one to help the boy. A man alone can't survive in such a situation. The girl says that people are tiny and weak, but that's not true. He explains that this is how it is. The girl says she thinks a person can be strong. Zeon says that they have been defeated and laughs at it, calling the situation incredible. He says everything is fine, the man tells Zeon. Milia says they've won. Zeon calls Milia by name and thanks the man. He says that he can be proud because a girl and a boy run. The boy says that they really are true heroes. Zeon says that he knows. He says this is the final episode of the story about the hero and the former demon king. He explains that the original work is by Gensaku Amato, and the illustrations are by Akiyuki Nomoto. Zeon says it's incredible. The day has finally come when the rankings will change. The woman says that no one will complain if he becomes a master, and then begins to explain something. The girl announces that Zeon Ishtar has been appointed the #1 master in the hero. He laughs. The girl says that he was just here and asks where that is. The woman says she just thought he was. Trishman says it's not the first time he's acted like this and is always rude. The woman asks if someone has. The girl laughs and asks what Mr. will say. Zeon smiles back. He reports that they ended in a draw, allowing them to escape, and says that's natural. The text block states that he is #2 in the hero rankings, Mr. World, the strongest in the world. Zeon says he's the only one who could defeat the Demon King, and that it suits him. The man asks for clarification. Zeon says, of course. To be called the strongest. The man says that, by the way, and the girl asks if he will allow her to change her title. The man says that under no circumstances. Zeon reports that he's finally found something. Then he says they need to talk. Milia Vermilion asks why he ran away from the ceremony, calling him #3 in the hero rankings, the hero of the woman says Zeon is #1, and that's the pinnacle of a hero's journey. Zeon says that it seems so. Zeon explains that, by the way, the girl says that even though she's in 3rd place, Zeon says that sooner or later he'll be first. The girl asks what he means. Zeon explains. The girl says it all turned out to be very simple and asks what he's trying to say. No information. Zeon says that he likes her and proposes to marry him. The girl asks who exactly. He says the girl is for him because he loves her. The girl replies that she does. He says that since everything is decided, now they need to tell their parent no information. The text says that a few days later, the woman says she just received a letter from Theon and asks the man to look at it. The girl asks how the dress suits her. Theon says he says that they really do say that clothes make the man, and the girl asks if he understood what he said. Theon says she's the most beautiful in the whole world. The girl says she's happy, but asks him to stop. The girl asks him to skip his jokes today, as she nearly got a nosebleed. Theon apologizes. He says that although he is happy, it is all so unexpected. Theon says that's not an indicator at all, and laughs that he's apparently become more human too. The girl says that it's understandable that he proposed, but he says he wanted to tell the girl something, who answers with a question. Theon tells Milia that he was reincarnated as a human and was once a demon lord, and asks what she would do. The woman is silent. He says that many things now make sense to him. The woman says that such important things cannot be discussed. Theon says he won't do anything. The girl says that it doesn't matter to her whether it's a demon lord or someone else, because he's still himself, and so she'll be there to beat the crap. Theon says he can always rely on his interlocutor, adding that it was so. There once lived a powerful demon lord who had been alone for a long time and wanted to maintain his status as the strongest. The girl said, "Listen," and he said he wanted to know something from the former demon lord. Theon asks her what she thinks about humans. The girl responds with a question about humans. The woman says that we need to think. He says the word people. Theon reports that the former demon lord has been reborn as a human. He communicates and a handful of light. Against the backdrop of a demon castle and inner peace, Theon says he never expected their kiss at the wedding to cause a river of blood in the girl, and the woman asks where they are and what he's going to do. He says something in response. Theon says you'll understand when you see it. A man in a crown sits on a throne. He says that all the faces are familiar. The girl asks him to wait and notices that he and the other person look the same. He says that it looks like. Theon reports that another version